Selama ini saya baru tahu guys, ternyata bukan hanya menjadi tempat wisata favorit dunia, bukan hanya sebagai tempat medis dan pendidikan terbaik antar bangsa, melainkan Malaysia juga adalah salah satu tempat terbaik untuk mengubah perilaku atau kebiasaan dan adab serta cara berpikir seseorang menjadi lebih baik dan maju. Hal ini terbukti dari kejadian di video ini guys, bahwa kisah Mat Salleh pada video ini menunjukkan bahwa Malaysia telah berhasil mengubah mentaliti Mat Salleh Amerika menjadi pria lebih baik dan berguna bagi orang lain. Bukan hanya sampai di situ, bahkan Malaysia juga mampu mengubah keyakinan Mat Salleh ini dan mengucapkan 2 kalimat syahadat di Malaysia. Itu semua berdampak besar dari pengaruh masyarakat Malaysia yang memberikan contoh yang lebih baik kepada sesama. Selain kini ia punya mentaliti yang baik, Mat Salleh Amerika ini sekarang bisa berbahasa Melayu dengan pasif. Wow, Malaysia telah mengubah kehidupan Mat Salleh ini secara keseluruhan. Nah, bagaimana cerita kisah Mat Salleh Amerika ini sepenuhnya? Kita tonton video ini sampai habis.
Assalamualaikum semua.
Waalaikumsalam.
Nama saya
Wow.
Kurt Adam. Boleh cakap Kurt. Memang saya Mat Salleh dari US, Amerika Syarikat. Saya duduk dalam Malaysia untuk 2 tahun. Walaupun mari ke Malaysia, saya have a wonderful experience baru memang. Jadi saya nak share experience dengan awak. Jadi saya nak buat video series baru, Mat Salleh American in Malaysia. Awak mungkin kenal saya dari video lain bila buat video kita ke Alisa. Alisa isteri saya.
Ini orang Malaysia.
Jadi
guys.
saya akan cakap bahasa Inggeris untuk video ni, so I can fully explain my experiences here in Malaysia. So yes, I'm an American. I've been living in Malaysia for 2 years.
Sebentar guys,
and
sebentar.
it has
Aku ingin
been
komentar
a
ya,
great,
guys.
amazing
Sebentar.
new.
Baik, aku sangat suka guys ya. Kenapa? Aku sangat suka jika melihat ada Mat Salleh ya yang berasal dari Amerika seperti ini. Dia bisa berbahasa Melayu. Kesannya itu terlihat sangat keren guys ya. Karena dia mampu untuk beradaptasi di Malaysia dan mau untuk belajar di negara itu guys ya, termasuk dengan bahasa. Baik, kita akan play lagi. Aku ingin tahu apa saja yang akan dikatakannya.
Experience. I want to share these experiences with you so that I can tell you about what I've experienced, what has made a significant impact on my life and my feelings here. Of course, culture here in Malaysia is very different from culture back in America. So I want to share with you those differences. 5 biggest culture shocks for an American living in Malaysia. So these are culture shocks that I've experienced that have really made a significant impact on my feeling of being a foreigner in a new country. Okay, so jom mula. Okay, number 5, Muslimas. So here in Malaysia, the majority of religion practiced is, of course, Islam. So for women in Islam, it is most likely that they cover their aurat. They wear a tudung or hijab. Back in America, you don't see this as frequently. Of course, in America, it's a country of very diverse people. So, of course, there are Muslims and Muslimas living in America. And studying at the university, I've even had some friends that were Muslim or Muslima as well. In America, you would just occasionally, see a few women here and there wearing the tudung. However, here in Malaysia, a majority of the women are wearing tudungs. So for me, it was a really significant experience because sometimes I would just be, driving down the road, and, when I'm looking around and I'm seeing all the people and most of the women that I see, they're wearing the tudong, it gave me a big realization, wow, I'm in a completely brand new country. And it felt very special to me. It was a very good feeling. And now, after marrying my wonderful wife, Lisa, of course, she's a Muslima as well. She covers her aurat. She does not show her hair for anyone except for me. So that has always made me feel very special, that I'm the only man that gets to see that part of her. That's one of the things that I respect most about being in a marriage with a Muslima, is that she covers her aurat for me. So I'm very grateful for that. It's a new experience for me. I've never had that feeling before, ever. So I really appreciate my wife, and also other women out there. They carry that same practice of covering their hair with the tudong. Okay, number 4, Azan. Back in America, I've never heard the Azan before. There are saraos, there are masjids in America. From what I've learned is that in those particular areas, they do play the azan. But I've never lived near a masjid or a sarao before in America. So here in Malaysia, you can find a sarao or a masjid one every probably 1 or 2 kilometers. So no matter where you are in Malaysia, it is very common that for each prayer of the day, of course, that you hear the azan. So that was a very new experience for me. I remember when I first came, I would wake up in the morning and I would hear the azan for Salat Subah. And I just remember, sometimes laying there in bed and just, feeling very special about that also, because it was a new experience for me. Another great thing about here in Malaysia is when the azan plays, everybody just really sort of stops what they're doing and they respect the azan. If you're playing music or watching TV, you turn it off. And I really like how everybody can take that time out of their day to respect the azan, the call for prayer, and be able to, salat at home on time or go to the sarao or the masjid. One really nice thing that also made a significant impact on me was how Muslims and Muslimas dress when they go to Salat at the masjid. I really like seeing the baju Melayus. Everybody really takes pride in making themselves look nice and smell nice for when they go for Salat. So when I first came, I began learning more about Islam. For example, how to take wudu. In my first few weeks here, while I was learning and I was beginning to take wudu myself, that also made me feel very special. It was something I've never done before, and just the feeling of preparing for Salat like that, it was a great feeling. And to be honest, it also felt kind of cool too, because after you take wudu, you're usually a little wet because you have to wash your arms, wash your face, and etc. But I just remember it was something new, and I just, after taking wudu, I felt different. I felt special. It felt like a cool feeling to me. Number 3, rules between men and women. So back in America, you don't have the same rules between men and women. Here in Malaysia, if you are a Muslim or Muslima and you practice Islam, one major rule is that you cannot touch each other. You're not supposed to touch another woman, or a woman is not supposed to touch another man. Only her husband is allowed to touch. Because a majority of the population are Muslims, that means that there's just really, there's no touching between a man and a woman whatsoever. And that even means simple touching. So like in America, You know, maybe you have a friend that is a female. Something happens and you guys want to, like, you know, share the moment. You cannot even do that here because you're not allowed to touch men and women. Some other things that you're not supposed to do is you don't want to get too close to another woman. If you're speaking, you should not lean in to tell them something closely. You should not really joke around and, you know, touch their shoulder. Even if it's through clothing, you're just not supposed to do that. So it's referred to as haram, which is prohibited. Halal means it's permitted. Of course, it is haram for a man and a woman to touch each other when they are not married. Coming from America, you know, it wasn't really a big deal. Like if that happened, if you gave another woman a high five, or if, you know, you're just joking around like as a friend. Or sometimes in America, some women might come close, or they might, like, you know, give you a hug. Or even if it's like a best friend of yours and you want to, you know, give them a hug goodbye. In America, it's not strict. That rule does not exist. Because that rule exists here, a significant impact for me was a little bit of nervousness. I felt like I had to be extra careful, always, you know, being careful of my actions, be very mindful about what I do and make sure that I don't cross the boundary of being haram. I did not want to do something or say something that would give the impression to another woman that it's close to breaking the rules. So I was always very careful. I didn't want to, you know, joke too much because I didn't want to offend anybody. I didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Especially for myself as a foreigner from a Western country, people who interact with me, they might have the idea that I'm not used to the rules here. So I wanted to be extra careful and demonstrate that I could follow the rules. And that made me nervous. Even more about that, I was a little afraid because I thought that, you know, if something like that did happen, you know, like when, for example, you go to the kedai and you want to, you know, beli makanan, when you're exchanging duit for the food, if it was a woman selling the food, I was always very.
Dan itu tadi kita baru saja mereaksi tentang Mat Saleh. 2 tahun ia di Malaysia, guys ya. Mat Saleh ini berasal dari Amerika. Ketika 2 tahun dia berada di Malaysia, dia sudah menjadi seorang kaum muslimin. Dia di Malaysia mengucapkan 2 kalimat syahadat, guys ya. Bagaimana pengaruh Malaysia terhadap banyak orang non-muslim ketika masuk ke negara Malaysia, guys ya. Pengaruhnya sangat besar sekali, dan di sini adalah salah satu contoh Mat Saleh yang langsung menjadi seorang mu'alaf. Dia ucapkan ada beberapa faktor yang membuat dia sangat terkesan dengan Islam yang ada di Malaysia, guys ya. Yang pertama, dia mengucapkan bahwa dia sangat terkesan dengan kaum muslimah atau juga wanita-wanita di Malaysia yang banyak sekali yang menggunakan tudung, kata guys ya. Kalau di sini dibilang itu hijab ya, guys ya, yang memakai hijab, dan itu adalah membuat hati siapa saja yang melihat akan terasa tenang ya, guys ya, dan minim kejahatan apabila melihat banyak sekali orang Islam di sana. Karena tentu saja kita sangat tahu bahwa banyak sekali aturan-aturan dari agama Islam yang mewajibkan untuk kita berperilaku baik dan meninggalkan segala kejahatan yang ada. Makanya kalau mayoriti negara Islam tentunya minim sekali dengan kejahatan di negara itu. Dan selanjutnya lagi dengan azannya, guys ya. Setelah ia memeluk agama Islam, dia diwajibkan untuk bangun lebih pagi untuk sholat subuh ya, guys ya. Karena di waktu dia telah mengucapkan 2 kalimat syahadat, setiap pagi dia harus bangun untuk sholat subuh ya. Seperti itu ya ajaran agama Islam yang mewajibkan untuk menjalankan ibadah yang telah diperintahkan oleh Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Dan hal yang lainnya lagi yang sangat mengagetkannya adalah ketika azan itu berkumandang, maka dia melihat kiri kanan, suasananya itu sangat hening, guys. Apabila orang beraktivitas, maka orang akan berhenti sejenak untuk berdiam atau mendengarkan suara azan guys. Namun setelah azan itu berakhir barulah mereka ada yang ke masjid, ada yang melanjutkan kembali aktivitasnya ya guys ya. Seperti itulah seharusnya orang menghargai ketika saat azan atau saat waktu sholat akan tiba. Baik, lagi demikian dari video dari aku. Semoga Anda semua terhibur dengan video ini, dan aku mohon undur diri, mohon maaf jika ada kesalahan dan kekurangan. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.